Like the cool blue light. Like the cool blue light.
And welcome everybody to the 99th episode of the Fact Is podcast. We are your hosts, Nate Moses.
And Ryan Mays.
Welcome. Thank you everybody for joining in on this beautiful Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Ryan, how you feeling today, bud?
Like $1,000,000.
Stuart, new and approved. How we doing?
Doing well.
Oh, did y'all hear that? We can get Stuart's live voice now. Isn't that a beautiful addition? So now, whenever we make stupid comments, Stuart can correct us.
Stuart's going to be over here like, beep, that was wrong.
That was wrong.
You guys suck.
So, today is not sponsored by, but I wish could be sponsored by, this beautiful, delicious Jocko Go.
We're gonna speak it into existence. Jocko Go and E.H. Taylor.
Yeah, E.H. Taylor.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers. So, beautiful thing going on today. We are happy to be able to bring you all the crazy things that are happening around the world. But
crazy?
Yeah, Ryan, glad you're here tonight. Glad you're having a good time. Glad you've had a good week.
Yeah, man, you too.
Yeah,
it's been
beautiful.
It's always fun when we all get together.
It is great when we get together. I absolutely love this.
And we gotta start videotaping like the pre stuff, and then just like release that to like subscribers only or whatnot, so we can just like
an OnlyFans comedy club.
without penises.
Without the penises. Beautiful. All right, well, fun times. Let's jump straight into the articles. We do have a hefty amount to cover tonight, so let's go straight into the first article that I want to talk about, which is suicide drones strike fear in Ukraine's capital, killing 4. Waves of explosive-laden suicide drones struck Ukraine's capital Monday, setting buildings ablaze, tearing a hole in one of them and sending people scurrying for cover or trying to shoot them down in what the president said was Russia's attempt to terrorize civilians. That's absolutely ridiculous. The concentrated use of the kamikaze drones was the second barrage in as many weeks after months in which air attacks had become a rarity in central Kyiv. So, you know, when it says that, it just makes me think back to World War II with the Japanese
kamikaze pilots.
Kamikaze pilots, except with drones. Now they don't have to sacrifice a human life. It's a mechanical device, which is a horrible way to use them in today's day and age, today's world. But this is exactly what technology brings. The assault sowed fear and frayed nerves as blasts rocked the city. Energy facilities were struck, and one drone largely collapsed a residential building, killing 4 people. So you all can take more time to read into the article, of course, but the big topic of discussion here is those drones. And then on top of that, we can also talk about how Putin today, an article we're not necessarily discussing to the T tonight, but Putin decided to call martial law in those 4 annexed cities that he took over for Ukraine. Did you all see that?
I did not.
Yes.
Yeah. So he is now deciding to do that as well. So Russia is essentially committing a bunch of attacks on Ukraine at once in many different ways. So not only are they trying to annex those 4 cities, they are also bombing them. They are using drone strikes. They are taking out their energy. They are starting to drain Ukraine pretty heavily, at least from what we've read. So I think Russia's looking to play the long game here, and I think unless there's any kind of NATO intervention, I'm almost thinking Ukraine is gonna fall if they continue to do this kind of supply chain drain. I don't know.
I mean, you make a good point there. I think that if Russia is in this for the long game, how long can they sustain it though?
That's another good question.
That's the hard part, is we don't know what Russia has in reserves as far as money and things like that, and how long they could keep this war going. If Ukraine can turn it into a war of attrition, then I think they actually stand a better chance if they're getting supplies. Now,
Right.
The U.S. has not been shy about sending billions and billions of dollars over to them.
Not at
So
all.
as long as they continue to get that type of aid, I mean, it's very possible to think that this war could go on for years
and years, unless somebody actually intervenes, like if NATO intervenes and decides to stop it. But I mean, as of right now, from what we're seeing, this is going to be a war of attrition. It's going to go on for a very long time. I don't see this ending anytime in the next probably 5-10 years if this is how they're going to play the long game.
I mean, it looks like Ukraine is becoming the new Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully speaking. Hey, did you ever see this suicide drone thing? Reminds me of a TED Talk from a couple of years ago where they had a little drone. It was about this big, right? And what they did is they downloaded a facial recognition software into the drone, and it had like just a little bit of like C4 charge in it.
Really?
And what it did is it would fly until it found it had the face recognized,
Right.
and it flew directly at the forehead, and just the charge went off, and it was just enough of a charge to penetrate through the skull and blow up the brain.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So it was super, super efficient and super, super deadly. I wonder if something like that is going to start coming about
Becoming
in
like
new
the
warfare.
normality
New
of war.
warfare.
Yeah, because I mean, right now, what Russia's doing is they're clearly just attacking civilians there at Ukraine. They're trying to take out the Ukrainian population, the civilian population, and that right there just tells you what they're planning on doing. So it's a bit concerning, of course, but yeah, I mean, I agree. With technology like that, are we going to see that become the norm of warfare? And I can't necessarily answer that, and the person who does unleash that, they're probably going to have to answer to those kind of crimes. I'd assume that they'd consider those war crimes as well.
I would think
don't
that
know.
those would be less of a war crime than like chemical warfare, for example, or
I agree.
nuclear warfare. If it's a specific assassin drone and it goes in and takes out one person in the target and it doesn't affect anybody else around it, I would say that that's a cleaner form of warfare than what we've seen up to this
Yeah,
point.
because you could just try to be taking out the specific
leaders.
key leaders.
Yeah. So my question is why haven't we used this on Putin? Ooh, we're gonna get banned from YouTube for that
Yeah,
one.
no joke. I mean, of course we don't condone violence, but there has to be a certain point where you look. There has to be a certain point. It's becoming a normality in this. I know we're getting way off topic again, but it is becoming a normality to allow people to get away, even though they commit the biggest atrocities. And we are allowing them to live there, and that is setting an example for the world. Again, the kid who shot up Parkland and down at Florida, 14 innocent people in high school injured another 17, didn't get the death penalty. Why? Somebody, there has to be a line where you draw to where there is evil. I mean, and where we draw that as a society, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you on that. And I know that's, again, way off topic.
I mean,
full circle,
to get biblical
attacking
on
Ukraine, but-
an eye for an eye. If you kill one person and it's premeditated,
Yep.
then I think that qualifies for the death penalty. I mean, now that's me. That's not
Everybody's
and I'm,
right.
like I said, I'm not condoning violence, but we have to start deterring people from committing these terrible atrocities. I mean,
agree.
there's no way that people should be able to get away with this and keep their lives.
No, I agree.
So, it's less expensive to the taxpayer. 2, eye for an eye. You kill somebody, I'm sorry, but you're going to get offed.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I think if the people are facing death for their actions, I think some of this stuff calms down.
Yeah,
I really do.
I agree.
Because right now, it's like, well, I hate my life anyway. I'm just gonna, go
Yeah,
take
worst
as
case-
many people with me,
worst
and if
case
I don't
scenario-
die, then I'm just gonna be chilling in a prison, 3 hots and a cot.
I was gonna say that exactly. Worst case scenario, I'm eating 3 meals a day, and hanging out in prison, whatever. So it's an interesting concept there, but it's where do you draw the line, and when do we stop allowing things like this, suicide drone strikes, to hit capitals and start killing civilian population over a war that I'm sure nobody there even wanted in the first place. So full circle, that's how we bring it back.
And we're back.
And we're back. But moving on to article number 2, because I think we do have a lot of articles here to touch. But that is a great discussion. I love that point. So just be on the lookout for more normalized warfare tactics and what's going to come about these next couple of years, because we're going to keep on top of that. But explainer. So here's the next one that a lot of people probably don't know is happening right now, just because with the oversaturation of the amount of news that is on the internet right now, it's so hard to keep up with everything. But what's
That's
driving
what happens
Haiti's,
when you go global.
Oh, I know, right? What's driving Haiti's humanitarian crisis? So, Haiti is facing a humanitarian crisis with shortages of food, fuel, and water causing catastrophic hunger, and the government pleading for military assistance from abroad. What is causing the crisis? The trigger for the current crisis is the blockade of key fuel terminal by armed gangs that began in September. That has led to shortages of gasoline and diesel and halted most transport, in turn creating shortage of basic goods, including clean water. So who are these gangs that are holding back these blockades? The blockade is being led by a coalition of gangs called G9, which controls areas in and around the capital of Port-au-Prince. The group's leader, Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier, is a former police officer who has been the target of sanctions by the U.S. Treasury Department in his role in 2018 massacre. He and other gang leaders are considered the de facto authority in areas including Site Salil, a poor coastal town that has suffered brutal outbreaks of gang violence this year. It was also where the first cases were reported in an outbreak of cholera in October.
Cholera,
thank you.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's a lot to take in. I actually, and I'll be honest, I didn't realize it was to that extent, right? Until this was something to talk about. Because I knew, you always know that there are third world countries that are, of course, suffering a little bit more than maybe your more modern developed countries, which, is something that we combat every day. But you never know the extent and how bad it gets until it finally breaks into the news, right? So, I mean, what has NATO done about this? Has anybody even stepped up to talk about this? Have we discussed a plan, maybe? I mean, are we just going to continue to let civilians, again, go without the very basic nutrition that they need? Where do we get involved? Do we not get involved? Specifically even with America, where do you draw the line? What's right? What's wrong? Because I mean, I would much rather be spending half of that Ukrainian money towards something like this, or again,
well, especially because it's so close.
Yeah, or pushing NATO in there again. When are we going to have a world authority that doesn't allow for this kind of violence?
Nafe, you're starting to sound like a globalist, sir.
I know, but at
all
the
right,
same
Klaus.
time, I mean, so
You will own nothing and you'll be happy.
Do the civilians fight back? Does the government intervene? Is there an answer to that?
I've seen something where the Haiti citizens don't want our help. Yeah.
Actually, I was going to say something about that too, Stuart. In the past, Haiti really has denied any kind of aid from the U.S. I don't think they want the U.S. involved in their affairs. However, at some point, you got to say, hey, man, what's going on over here is wrong, and it can't be allowed to continue.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, if they don't want our help, then do we give it?
But here's the other problem. Is it the government that doesn't want our help,
or is
it
G9?
The civilian population? Exactly. Or G9. Who's controlling what, delivering that message? And this is where life gets so confusing and difficult.
The lines get blurred.
The lines get blurred. But we at least want to bring people the awareness and allow you to make your own kind of decisions based on that, right? So where do the lines get drawn and what do we do about this? I don't have those answers and can't come up with it overnight, but we can definitely talk about it a little bit more. So please read up more about that, the Haitian humanitarian crisis. It is pretty bad over there. So
Naif, we run a podcast. You should be able to come up with these answers on the spot.
I know,
So if you can't, then Stuart, will you please take Nave's seat?
It's all you, my man. I love it. Yeah, so of course we'll keep up on top of that and see if there is any intervention and see if any kind of countries step up to help out Haiti. But we'll keep you on the loop with that. So on to the next article. Let's jump on to FBI. Let's talk about the FBI. The FBI has voluminous evidence. Voluminous evidence?
Voluminous, I think.
Voluminous? Is that how you say it? Good call. Voluminous evidence of Hunter Biden's potential criminal conduct.
Potential? I'm pretty sure I saw him weighing out crack rocks. I'm pretty I think that's illegal conduct.
I'm
and
pretty
it
sure.
may or may not compromise our president.
You know, I never actually I'll be honest, I never truly looked into that video to see what kind of if Facebook said, "Oh, fact checker says it's not real" or whatever. How do you fake a video like that? I mean, to that extent. I mean, I know how you fake videos.
Yeah, it would be pretty easy to fake the video. But the thing is this: he's questioning the person in the background. He's like, "What weight did you have on it? 6.8? 6.8?
Yeah.
No, you had 6.75. Oh, okay. Oh, did you take into account the bag?" And he literally weighs it out. And he's like, "Just like I thought, 6.8.
Yeah.
6.8.
Yeah. So
It's like, wait a minute. Those are crack rocks. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure that's illegal, sir.
I don't think you're allowed to do
What
that.
are you doing on an energy board in Ukraine? How is your father the president? Could you imagine if here's an actual quick question. Could you imagine if that was Don Jr.?
Oh, I know. And look, I will agree that
Could
the
you
conservative side
imagine?
gets absolutely bombarded compared to the liberal side. I will say that it feels like that.
Well, the liberals think that we should just, end all drugs.
Right.
As far as the illegalness of the activity.
But I will argue it also depends on what news sources you're looking at, what you're...
True.
Because there is a lot that comes out that's like, oh, okay, it wasn't necessarily like that, but it got spread towards, more... I don't know. I do believe there needs to be a good balance between who gets held accountable between the liberal side and the conservative side. I mean, personally, I think they all need to be prosecuted and, held accountable for their
That's what we
actions.
should do. We should just bring down all kinds of charges on all of them. We should sue them for...
Technically, you could.
We should literally... Now, this is just an idea. I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I'm not condoning this, but kind of am condoning this. We as citizens should bring lawsuits against all the people in Congress for theft,
Yeah.
taxation.
Taxes
We should
theft.
bring lawsuits against the Federal Reserve for devaluing our currency.
Yep.
We should, and defamation. I mean, at that point, if you're devaluing the currency, I'm sure that there's a defamation case
Right.
in there somewhere. I mean, if Alex Jones can get hit for $1 billion for just saying something didn't happen when it did, and then coming back and apologizing about it over and over and over again, it's like, if he can get hit with $1 billion, why can't we hit Congress with a couple billion?
Yeah.
And get some of these people out of their seats?
I hear what you're
Why
saying.
can't we hit the Federal Reserve and kind of reel them back in? Because right now the Federal Reserve is intentionally crashing the economy.
Yeah. And we're looking in the next 6 to 12 months, if you all have been keeping up with any of the news articles through Wall Street Journal, and I saw one with Reuters, they're looking at a next 6 to 12 months, we're going to be in a recession that is going to crash us kind of like 2008.
I've seen articles like that, but I've seen that those yes, there is the possibility of that, but 2008 was such its own beast. This whole $1 trillion market, which is the real estate market,
Right.
had this gigantic bubble because there was predatory lending going on. I don't think that we're on the verge of a 2008. I feel like we're on the verge of a recession, but how
Right.
could we not be after
I
the
mean, it's
last
already
2
felt
years?
like we have been with a 9%
Yeah.
increase in inflation.
You
I
know,
thought a
that,
recession was 2 quarters.
2 quarters.
Yeah,
well,
that's technically
that's the
the
technical definition,
right?
unless
So
you
we
ask
should
the.
have-
So we're in a recession.
Unless you
right
ask the
now.
White House, they said no, that's not the real definition.
We are in one right now.
Yeah,
We
we
are
have been in one.
absolutely-
I
we've
think
been
we've
in
been
one.
So,
And here's the crazy
that's a hot
part.
take.
It's right now we're definitely in a bear market. So educate yourselves, guys, because you can still make money in bear markets if you know how to
100%.
play puts and call options and things like that. You can make a ton of money in bear markets. But if you look at what's going on, I just completely lost my train of thought on that. Hold on, I was talking about Huh?
Puppies.
Puppies, bananas, pineapples. No, what I was talking about is the bear market that we're in. Typically, your bear market lasts about 9 months. That's a typical bear market.
Yep.
And from what I've seen, like we've erased about the last year of gains. So that's just looking at different charts that I'm looking at, like S&P and Dow and things like that. So the bear market that we're in has erased basically all of 2021's gains.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're in this huge, because like 2008 erased like almost 25 years of growth.
Oh yeah.
So we're not there. We've erased 1 year. So I don't think 2008 is on the. I don't think we're on the precipice of a 2008. I think this recession is product driven. I think the supply chains, and I think Congress increasing rates, or not Congress, but the Fed increasing rates. Now here's the thing: if the Fed reverses course, because obviously their rate increases are not tackling inflation,
right?
So why continue to increase the rates if it's not doing anything? You know what I mean?
Right.
Or is there just that much built-in inflation?
Right.
Because I mean, what did they printed? What, $9 trillion in 2 years, something like that?
Ridiculous.
So I mean, if we're not tackling it anyway, then why make everyone suffer? Why not let the economy cook and then get those dollars into circulation and let it just roll?
Well, there's a lot of ways to let our economy cook that hasn't been happening.
We have foreign governments to pay.
Exactly. Dude, just print up another billion and throw it at Ukraine, like, geez. That's also a thought that I had the other day. I was sitting there and I was in my bed and I was reading some articles and I was like, oh my God, we're sending more money to Ukraine. And then I was like, what if we're sending this money to Ukraine to take it out of circulation so that we can help combat inflation?
That's an idea, but then why just not pay off your debt?
Because that would be the logical thing to do, Nate. Congress is not logical. Are you kidding me?
What? I don't know, man.
Pay your debt.
It gets ridiculous by the end of the day, because you could follow the money in circles and just you will never stop following that money line.
That rabbit hole is deep.
It's so.
It goes back
deep.
to like 1913.
Oh yeah,
I think that's the year the Federal Reserve was put in place.
Conversation we had earlier. I mean, we would talk about like presidents of our generation and leaders during our generation. George Bush being probably the worst one we've had since we've been born.
I don't know, Clinton. Clinton. Well, I mean, Clinton was great for like economic policy.
Yeah, I don't remember Clinton as well as I do like George Bush.
That's right. You guys are young.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. W was kind of funny. If you go back and you watch some of his stuff, not saying he was a good president by any stretch of the imagination, but I will say the way he handled what happened after 9/11. It brought everybody together in the country. Like there was a solid like 6 months there where we were like,
that's how the government gets what they want when everybody's together.
Bingo.
That's how you get the Patriot Act.
Patriot Act. And now you can't even put $10,000 in your bank without getting blasted like, potential terror threat. That's crazy. Did you know that? No. If you put $10,000 of cash into the bank at one time, you get a flag.
That's right. Yeah, where did I see that?
The U.S. tax code.
Yeah, no, I know I didn't see it there, but I remember. Was it War Dogs? I think.
Yes.
With Jerry Hill, yeah, where they talked about that. I think he talked about that, if I'm not mistaken, in that movie. But I remember, and I googled it, and I was like, "Is that real? That's crazy."
Yep. The old Patriot Act.
Yeah.
That's
God bless. We got to bring this back around full circle somehow. Hunter Biden is possibly getting charged.
Well, the other thing is this: if you actually click into the article, there, people, the picture that they have of Hunter Biden is great because he definitely looks like he's strung out right there. Look at this guy; he's got like one eye kind of cockeyed. He's like chewing on his lip. That dude's definitely smoking crack.
Oh, it's crazy. So
bye, YouTube.
Bye. The FBI is in possession of evidence, huge evidence, basically, of potential criminal conduct by President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, related to his overseas business dealings with China and Ukraine, according to new whistleblower disclosures. The Senator Chuck Grassley, Republican, who previously released whistleblower claims alleging the evidence on Hunter Biden's criminality was wrongly labeled disinformation within the Bureau, made the revelations in a Thursday letter obtained by the Washington Examiner. It was sent to Attorney General Merrick Garland, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss, who is running the criminal investigation into Hunter Biden. The whistleblower allegations relate to Hunter as well as James Biden, the president's brother, regarding the duo's dealing with Chinese government-linked energy conglomerate. Thank you. Blah, blah, blah.
There we go.
CEFC China Energy. They also relate the younger Biden's work for Ukraine gas giant Burisma Holdings. Grassley said his staff reviewed the unclassified records supporting the whistleblower claims. So, without going into this all through the article, I mean, it's looking like they have substantial amount of evidence to say that Hunter Biden was involved with Ukraine and China and potential criminal conduct. So, this is a pretty pivotal moment, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think it is, but is anything going to happen?
That's what I'm saying.
They caught Eric Swalwell literally banging a Chinese spy, and he's still in Congress. He's still, making decisions for the country. He's still on all these boards. He's on all these, committees and all that stuff. He is literally in bed with China.
That's...
And nothing's happened to him. You know what's crazy, though? And I hate to keep defending the guy because I really don't like him. But it sounds like I like him because I defend him. But there's such a double standard. Trump calls Ukraine and says, hey, let's find some dirt. And gets impeached.
Yep.
Hunter is literally like the middleman between then Vice President Joe and Ukraine for all these probably, we can't pin our finger on it, but there's got to be backdoor dealings. Let's be real.
Right.
And nothing's happening.
Well, so now that pretty substantial evidence has finally reached, and there's a whistleblower, let's see what happens. Because this is, like I said, it's a pretty pivotal moment. We'll see if they're actually held accountable for their actions and what kind of evidence is behind it. If not, then there has to be a certain point where we have to accept what is okay and what's not okay in the pursuit of accountability across all members of leadership within our country or within this world.
When do we accept that the government no longer represent us?
I don't know. At what point do we decide to actually do something about that? Here's the other thing. The reason I kind of like the idea of separation between corporates and, of course, government is because corporations are very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. They can make a lot of decisions that can stand up to their government because they basically supply the economy. So, not basically, they do. They all supply the economy, whether it's a small business, large business, whatever. So, my question is, when do corporations decide to start stepping up as well? Because those leaders of the corporations
are what's funding all that stuff, man. Yeah. If you think about it, with the lobbying that happens, they're pumping millions, if not billions of dollars into different pockets in Congress. And then those pockets in Congress are going and doing literally whatever they want because there is no repercussions.
Right. Untapped capitalism.
Yeah. I don't know if that's... I think that's untapped corruption. Or uncapped corruption.
Uncapped corruption.
Not untapped, because it's definitely being tapped.
It's definitely being tapped.
It's definitely...
I don't know. So bringing it back full circle, Hunter Biden, we'll see where the accountability lies.
Okay, so if this comes out, right, and this is this pivotal point that we were talking about, what's the over-under on Biden getting impeached if Republicans get the Congress in November?
Let's bring this as betting. What are we throwing, 20 on it?
I'll throw 20 push-ups on it.
If he is found guilty.
Okay. So in the next 2 years, right? If Republicans take control of the House and the Senate, which it's looking like is going to happen.
Yep.
What are the chances that Joe Biden gets impeached for the Hunter Biden stuff? I put up a 4-1 bet of Joe Biden being impeached. So I'll put up 20 push-ups for that. So if he gets impeached, I'll do 20. If he doesn't, let's do a 5-1. I'll do 100 if he doesn't get impeached in the next 2 years. Hold me to it. Today is 10/19/2022 at... My watch died.
Here's where I think that's going to go. I think there will be an attempt, just like there was with Trump. There will be an attempt to impeach, but it won't reach before the end of his term. And then he's just going to be done at the end of his term, and then whatever Republican is running is going to end up winning.
I think it comes immediately. I think literally as
We'll see.
they get sworn in, impeachment stuff starts happening.
We'll see.
Because the Republicans are still pissed off about what happened to DJT.
Right,
So
mean,
I think that it
they're
comes
gonna-
immediately.
I think they're going to pursue it. I just think that, of course, with lawyers and the way around our legal system, they will continue to push it back and back.
Democrats pushed it through in 2 weeks.
We'll see. We'll see. But I mean, I just, we'll see what happens.
That'll be the only thing they focus on. Nothing will get done.
100%.
Nothing will get done.
It
But
doesn't matter. They're
they
just going
will
to
impeach
focus on
him.
impeaching Biden.
I have a feeling that they're going for 3. They're going to go for 3. They're going to try to beat the impeachment of Donald Trump because he got 2. He's the leader so far. So I think, 3's a good number. Maybe they even try to double it up.
Right. I have no idea. We'll see what happens. But interesting conversation, interesting thoughts. I can't wait to see what happens over the next couple of years.
Oh, dude, it's like rolling the dice.
It really is. What's gonna happen?
Can we get a draft?
I also think
for
if they
political betting?
if they have evidence on Hunter, he'll be convicted after Biden's out of office.
You think so?
Yeah. It's not gonna be while he's in office.
Right. You don't
Yeah.
think? Yeah, because then he'll
If
find
he
a way to
does,
pardon
I'm
him.
saying if he
He'll find a way
does
to
get
pardon him.
convicted, it'll be after Biden's out.
Yeah, because so that's actually a good point. So if the Republicans do take over, they might wait until after
So
Biden's
so Joe
presidency,
can't pardon him?
Joe can't pardon him, and kind of think deeper into that because Donald Trump did pardon some pretty suspicious people, if I'm not mistaken.
But he
towards the end of
he
his.
didn't pardon Snowden. And
Yeah.
he didn't
And
pardon
that's frustrating.
Assange.
If
That's
he
so
would- If
frustrating.
he would have
Or Julian
left-
Assange.
That's what I'm saying.
If he would have left pardoning both Snowden and Joe, I mean, dude, that would have been like the ultimate kick to the nuts. I mean, seriously.
Oh, you think you're cool? Watch this. Come on back, guys.
Now, did y'all see also that Snowden is now an official Russian citizen?
Yeah.
Isn't that
That's
kind of
so
scary?
sad.
Isn't
That's
that
so
kind of
sad.
scary to think that somebody like Snowden, somebody so intelligent, somebody so brave and honest, who was just willing to step up against what he thought was wrong? Isn't it crazy that he is now a part of that Russian government and he is one of the smartest people out there?
You think he's working for Putin?
Why wouldn't he be?
At this point, why
Why
wouldn't
wouldn't you be? If America's chasing you and they're going to bring you down, why wouldn't you go give yourself some safety surrounded by, I mean, the guy who literally gave himself another 12 years in office because he felt like it. Like one of the most powerful, they're the most powerful person in Russia, of course, but also probably on that continent.
Well, I don't know. Xi Jinping. He's a pretty
Xi
powerful
Jinping.
guy.
He is a pretty powerful guy.
He's slightly powerful.
Just slightly. But
What about Rocket Boy?
Rocket boy.
Rocket Man. Oh god, the conversations. All right, moving forward. Let's go on to the fourth article that we have. New lab-made COVID-19 coronavirus at Boston University raised questions.
Wait, new lab made? Is that what that says?
Yep, lab-made COVID-19 coronavirus
I thought
at
COVID
Boston.
was from the wild.
This was one of those should have seen it coming moments. On October 14th, a team of researchers posted on BioRxiv, I don't even know what the hell that is, a preprint that described how they created a new hybrid version of the COVID-19 coronavirus in their lab at Boston University and used this lab-created virus to infect mice, which ended up killing 80% of the mice.
Nice. Let's
These
unleash that on the
days-
population.
Right? These days, if you think that posting something that talks about a lab-created virus killing mice wouldn't create a commotion, then in the words of the heavy metal band Judas Priest, you've got another thing coming.
You got another thing coming.
Yup, it wasn't too long before GOF claims about this research began on social media, with GOF in this case meaning gain of function rather than go on friend. For example, Senator Roger Marshall, Republican from Kansas, tweeted, "This research must stop immediately. It is unconscionable that NIH sponsors this lethal gain-of-function virus research through Boston University and EcoHealth Alliance in densely populated areas, creating a potential to kill more people than any singular nuclear weapon. Then their headlines like the following from Fox News. Boston University researchers claim they have developed new, more lethal COVID strain in the lab. The Daily Mail ran an article with the following rather lengthy headline: exclusive. This is playing with fire. It could spark a lab-generated pandemic. Experts slam Boston lab where scientists have created a new deadly coronavirus COVID strain with an 80% kill rate. Damn, that is a very lengthy headline. In a word, yikes. In 2 words, yikes. Or such chatter and headlines justified. So,
Who's overseeing this?
I'm Boston University, I guess.
Is it? But who's funding this?
Didn't it just say? Hold on, I apologize.
I don't know, but this guy here's got a wad of ones in his hand. Is he funding it? No.
NIH. The NIH sponsors this lethal gain of function.
So
NIH?
Fauci.
NIH.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that what Fauci runs?
That's old
The
Fauci
National
boy.
Institute of Health.
Yeah.
And
I knew this Weasley motherfucker was gonna come back and bite us all in the ass.
hey,
I hated him from the get-go.
no, hold on. Lawrence A. Is performing the duties of the director of the National Institute of Health. He assumed the role on December 20, 2021. So Lawrence A.
Yeah, but who's
Tabak-
his boss?
But I think Fauci
I'm pretty sure Fauci oversees the funding of all
works
these
with
things.
them anyway.
Yeah.
Does he? Okay, because I'm looking at like the directors of the NIH. So it was Lawrence A. Tabak since December 20th, 2021, and then Francis S. Collins, who started back in 2009.
Francis?
Do I see? Yeah, I don't see Fauci's name on here anywhere as like a director, but he might control the funding, being that he works with the federal
I'm
government.
pretty sure he
into
does.
NIH,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure he does.
Yeah,
Because
very well
that
could
was
be.
the big thing that Rand Paul was lighting him
Well,
up
yeah,
on.
I
the
guess he
hill
couldn't
for.
be director and work for the government, could he?
Yeah, he's
Have you seen Wall Street?
Yeah, right. So Fauci's the chief medical advisor to the president, which I assume would
But
look
before
over-
that, what was he?
The Death Doctor.
Oh, NIAID director. Dr. Fauci was appointed director of the NIAID in 1984, which is gosh, I can't remember.
Oh my gosh! I just realized I dropped the F-bomb.
AID. Yeah, it happens. I've done that once or twice myself.
I feel very strongly about that
Yeah.
Weasley little dude, though.
Okay.
You know he's like 5'3", right?
National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. That's right. That's what that is.
You know they had to like put a podium out for him. Nothing against like shorter people, but like I feel like he's got, I'm pretty sure Fauci has like Napoleon complex. That's why. Look, there's this new strain and we created it.
I mean, that is pretty insane, though. Like, let's go back to this because I want to talk about this for a hot
This is
second.
nuts, man.
I mean, they literally just created a new COVID strain for what reason? Why? What is the point of
Why can't we
researching
leave well enough alone?
this?
If you disagree with me, you disagree with science.
Science. I am the science.
I mean, seriously, let's think about this for a minute. To what benefit of society would it create to literally weaponize COVID?
I thought gain of function was illegal. What are they doing?
gain of function research. Yeah, I thought it was illegal.
I thought it was. I thought they outlawed that. And here we are on U.S. soil doing it.
I have no idea. That's another thing. I looked up.
Rand Paul, you need to start lighting people up. We need to actually start making some things happen. I feel like this.
Rand Paul.
I feel like this is the one thing that we can reach across the aisle on. Is like, let's not develop these diseases that are just capable of wiping out 80% of the population. Let's not do that.
So the U.S. government lifts the ban of gain of function back in 2017, but Rand Paul stops gain of function research funding over in China. So he stopped the funding that was happening in China, but I guess they lifted the ban in 2017.
Why would we lift the ban? That just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, why would we do anything?
Let's
in
take
this-
these deadly diseases and make them more deadly. That sounds like a great idea.
I love this.
And you know what? Then we're gonna have a lab leak.
I don't, So that, I mean, this does bring it back to, to what degree do we? I mean,
Can we
there
burn
has
it?
to be accountability for
Can it be
this.
destroyed? Like, can we go ahead and destroy that strain?
Well, what's going to look bad is if they hold this lab accountable and they don't hold the Wuhan lab. Granted,
How do you, but again, how are you going to hold a
Chinese entity.
Chinese entity accountable?
If China's not willing to do it
accountable
themselves.
for the humanitarian issues. We already allowed
Uyghurs.
gangs to take over money
Haiti.
from Haiti. You know, to what degree?
One of these days, we're gonna have to just like strap or pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and go out here and whoop some ass.
Hence the title of this episode. When does the chaos end? Right?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It's the
It's
carousel
never
of
ending.
chaos. That's
It
what
really is.
That's what this is. And the reason for it is because humans are messed up. Like
Yeah.
human
I mean, just
beings, we're
overall.
just messed up. And like curiosity kills the cat.
Yeah.
Every single time. And humans are we're just weird, man. We're just like, why would we?
you know what got swept under the rug
What the-
is Fauci doing those experiments on dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they never talked about that either.
Nope. Not even Rand Paul brought those up, which I thought Rand would be all over that, but he didn't.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough to keep on top of all this news, on top of all.
Well,
this
especially when you have somebody doing as many messed up things as Fauci is doing. Like, come on.
messed up things is like most governments are doing. It's getting pretty wild out there, but
I
yeah,
mean,
just my
is it
thought.
getting wild, or are we just learning more about it?
more about it? Yeah,
Just because of the
It's
internet.
the whole time. And so me and him were, oh my god, we really could sit here and talk about this for hours. So me and him were just talking about this before the episode as well. You know, think about technology. 30, 40 years ago, you weren't talking to your significant other, your friends on a daily basis, being able to share information like that. It took time,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and all of a sudden here we are evolved faster than I mean, you know, we're older than the internet basically. We're
I am
close
older
to
than the internet,
than the
Dave.
internet. So, you know, it's just and then here comes Manuel. Thank you for joining. It's always been pretty complicated, and it always will be. It's going to continue to get worse, and it's going to continue to get more complicated. I mean, I 100% agree with that. So, you know,
I love the complexity of it, though. Because
it does
without
make it
it,
interesting.
then like life would be boring.
I mean,
But at the same time, like it's also really messed up because it's like there's a lot of bad things.
it all
that could
depends on
happen.
who exploits it.
I mean, it doesn't matter who exploits it. It doesn't matter. I don't care if it's us. I don't care if it's them. I don't care if it's, you know, Joe Blow lives in the river of India or something. I don't care who it is that exploits it. Whoever exploits it, it's going to be wrong. And it just is. There's just. There's just so many bad things that can happen.
Everything being on your phone is still new as well. It's like not even 15 years old.
Which is exactly why humans just can't process.
You used to have to
it.
get on a computer to get on Facebook or whatever, but now it's all on your phone.
Talk about
It's all
MySpace
right
like
in
that.
your pocket.
And that's, I
You're-
mean, that's
you're-
still fairly new.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to see where this discussion can go because again, it taps into the human psyche and into that to that degree. But
And this is why artificial intelligence is going to take us all out.
100%. But full circle, coming back to Boston. You know why they're doing this research? I would love to know. Are they trying to learn how to destroy it? Are they trying to learn how to contain, or are they trying to learn how to make a vaccine for the stronger?
That would be their
coronavirus that
defense,
could
I'm
be?
sure.
I mean, yeah. What defense are they going to put it at? But also, you know, lab-made COVID-19 coronavirus at Boston. So, and it killed 80% of the mice. So we'll see what happens there.
Well, I'm just going to say it was lab.
Why
made
didn't
from
we
the
get
get-go.
this info from the Wuhan lab
I have no idea.
when they were doing that research?
But what's beautiful is the next article we're about to hit because we could go on that topic for hours. But I do want to touch up on what Manny's saying here. So we're living in the most complicated time in history. There's a lot to consider, and often you can't say definitively that you're right. Always have to be open to the possibility of you being wrong, which is exactly where again human psychology comes in, and most people take their ego and their pride and they put it above being able to admit when they're wrong, right? So, you know, I mean, I'm all day. Like, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I like to learn. I like to understand. I like to get down to the human psyche. And, you know, that's just what I like doing. Backwards hat, Ryan.
I'm never wrong. I'm wrong on a daily basis.
You doing from
Actually, on
Ryan
like
to
an hourly
Kyle.
basis. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. I mean, it
But
has
at
to be
least I
something.
admit to it.
But
you
that's
know
what I'm saying,
saying?
right? And that's where like things like human emotions and human psyche get involved in it. You're talking about pride and ego and wanting.
Why do you keep talking about the 7 deadly sins, bro? Come on.
I mean,
See, are we
because they're
taught that?
deadly.
Why do we hate to be wrong so much?
I don't know. I mean, there's no problem
Stu,
being wrong.
getting all philosophical on us here, bro. Stu's like, I'm gonna open the door to this rabbit hole.
We need to have a philosophical episode. of
Boys,
this
did you know that the
podcast.
closest, our closest habitable planet to us is 4.3? What is it?
like
4.3 million
million light years.
4.3 million light years away. Yeah, it's not that far.
Wasn't it called like Planet X or Nibiru?
No, it's in.
Nebrus,
It's in. It's in. No, it's Nibiru. You're talking about Planet X, bro. That's.
Planet X,
Let's put on the 10 hats here. Hold on.
Well, I thought that was
That's where the aliens are from.
All right,
God bless America.
Oh my lord! All right, let's
Frogs.
let's get on to article number 5. Biden says the economy is strong as hell, begging voters to sock it to him in November. The S&P 500 is down more than 5% since President Joe Biden's inauguration, and the Dow Jones Industrial more than 4%. The Federal Reserve is ratcheting up interest rates, raising borrowing costs across the board, and one of the most respected bankers in the country is warning of a recession, telling, which we would argue we're already in, telling a conference that this is serious stuff. Yet there was Biden enjoying the ice cream cone in Portland or Oregon,
chocolate chip.
saying our economy is strong as hell. Inflation, it doesn't worry him, but at least not if the rest of the world could get its act together.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be worried about it either if I didn't have to pay for anything.
Inflation is worldwide, he said. It's worse off than it is in the United States. So the problem is the lack of economic growth and sound policy in other countries, not so much ours. As polls show, the economy growing in importance for the midterms. The latest New York Times poll has 44% of voters saying it's their top concern, up from 36 in July. Biden's overall performance to the issues matters even more. So, to his determinant of his party. So, kind of leaving it right there. Let's talk about the economy. Do we actually think the economy is strong as hell? I think that it is potentially making a bounce back, but there's also the talks of, again, another recession. We still have inflation up 9%. I think it went down to 8, and now it's back up close to 9, 8.5, 9.
What was the report on this month? I should know that.
I actually haven't looked directly at it, but that's what I'm saying. It's around that. I think
it's 8.
Gas prices are going back up. So the economy, in my opinion, is not strong as hell.
Okay, so in September it's 8.2%. So it's actually come down a little bit, but still not where we went.
There was no inflation in July. That's what Biden said.
None. Hey, remember last year when they were talking about the price of a hot dog came down 30 cents? It's the little things.
That
It's the little things.
So
July 4th cookout.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Hey, we're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Hot dogs came down from 25
And
cents.
then the lady that says save on Thanksgiving, just don't buy a turkey this year.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
No.
Manuel does say
she said
that-
don't buy a turkey.
Manuel does say that comparatively the U.S. economy is strong at this moment in time. A good indication is the strength of the dollar. He doesn't think that he said anything wrong.
Well, how do you define a strong economy?
GDP, right? I'm pretty sure is how you define a
Let's
strong
look up
economy.
the GDP.
Well,
Yeah.
also, wouldn't the strength of the dollar be also tied to the rising interest rates? Because
Yeah.
now it costs more to borrow that dollar. So are we propping ourselves up by raising rates?
Right.
You know what I mean? But then again, they say that they're raising rates to combat inflation. So I guess they're trying to strengthen the dollar in order to make it retain its value,
Right.
which makes sense.
So Manuel jumps in and says inflation year over year and inflation month to month are going to be different. Depends on what you value more. Yeah, and I mean,
That's
so
true.
I guess
That's very
I
true.
value, what I value is the overall situation of the economy. So I will say that he's not wrong in saying that the U.S. does have a strong economy compared to many others, right? We can, compared to the world, we do have a very strong economy, but I would still say 7 to 9% inflation is not good. My idea of inflation coming down and being I'd prefer deflation, right? Where it starts going in a more positive trend and it starts going negative, so your dollar carries even more, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that's what I would prefer, right? I would prefer us to start becoming stronger and stronger, and having a better economy. It's just sad to see that. I'm pretty sure 50% of Americans barely have a savings account. or have more than like $600, $700 in their savings account.
It's less than 50, or it's more than 50%. I think it's like something. I want to say it's in the 70s or 80s.
You know, and that's
people
pretty
not
freaking
having
bad.
enough to, if they got hit with a $500 like thing.
Like yeah, like your
They wouldn't
windshield
they wouldn't be
bust
able
on
to
the
cover it?
highway or something. Yeah, you wouldn't even be able to cover it. Now I would also argue that part of that comes down again to like human psychology, where you know the divorce rates are at 50% and people can't stay together, and you get divorce attorneys and
It's because people are weak.
people. Yeah, I mean, you know.
People, when they say those vows, they don't actually mean it. They have one foot out the door, but even when they're getting married now.
I mean,
And
yeah.
it's-
So like, yeah, and two incomes is better than one, of course. So it's hard to say that. Yeah, God, it goes down so much to like your demographic, your statistics, it goes down to the very psyche of human nature. But
Here's the
Stuart,
cool
what do
thing.
you have pulled up
I
there?
found GDP growth in the
GDP
U.S.
growth? Oh, nice.
Okay.
since 1990,
Since 1990, so is it going
according
up or down?
to WorldBank.org.
I can't see it that well. Go ahead.
Oh, you can't see it?
No, I mean I see it on the screen, but I can't yeah.
I mean, it's at its highest point in a long time.
So we do have a high GDP right now,
Mm-hmm.
so we can't argue that.
And
So
What's that last
It-
date there?
2020.
2020?
So it's real low, like 2021,
Okay.
interesting. Yeah. So
which makes sense.
and then right now at 2022, it's at the very top.
Actually, going back to Manuel's comment,
Yep. Let's
I've
hear it.
said this for a little while
Dang.
now. I was like, you know what? January 1, 2023, inflation's done.
You think so?
Yeah, because of the year over year.
GDP is the highest since 84, according to this graph.
Oh, nice. Hey, and where's that graph provided from?
WorldBank.org.
World Bank Door. I mean, it's definitely sounds like something you can trust, but I don't know. I'd have to.
I don't know, anything that has the word bank in it. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, good point.
Put your tin hats on, boys.
Federal Reserve.
But see, this is the year-over-year inflation, right? That's
Right.
That's what we keep seeing every single month. Is like year over year. So September 21 to September 22,
Right.
it's an 8.3% increase, right?
Right.
So what happens in January 1?
And then compare it
But
to
you can
January
see when-
1
Comparatively
last year.
speaking,
You can
mean,
see when it went
we're
real
not,
low.
we're not having these huge spikes of inflation anymore. So now all of a sudden the year-over-year number looks great, and Biden's going to be out here like, see, I told you.
Well, and so here's Manuel. He says exactly, Ryan. Once we hit the new year, inflation story isn't going to be around because it's not growing at a high rate.
Nope.
So, but I mean, with the inflation that did come around, should we talk more about it at a month-to-month perspective, right? I mean, think about it in organizations. Do you sit there and talk? I mean, yeah, you talk about your year-to-year, but your biggest changes come from your day-to-day to your month-to-month, right? It builds up as you.
But see, here's the
continue to
thing: inflation is down
hit it every
comparatively from what is it, from September to August, from August to July.
It's going, yeah.
It's coming down. So January 1, all of a sudden it looks like we're back to like 1-2% inflation.
right. It's not that bad.
So when that happens, does the Fed reverse course and start lowering rates?
I don't know. Do they?
I mean, why would they continue to have the rates high?
Right. So technically, they should lower the rates,
They should.
but will they?
Mm.
I mean, we just saw today where, so I don't know if you all also saw this, but Biden is talking about selling 15 million barrels from our reserves to be able to try to combat OPEC cutting back their production.
Shut up, Biden.
You don't want to sell those reserves?
No.
I mean, yeah, if we just keep it stimulated or circulating here in the U.S. economy, I think we'd be a lot better off. But
Unleash American energy. Just unleash it.
right,
Just take all the restrictions off. Let's see what happens.
instead of
Take all the regulations off.
instead of supporting the development of a new COVID strain, why don't we support the development of more nuclear plants?
I'm saying unleash all energy.
All
All
energy.
American
Would it be
energy.
possible to let the free market figure it out instead of the government?
That's what I'm saying. Let it figure itself out.
So,
Yeah.
man,
Put the environmental restrictions on the fossil fuels.
I agree
because,
with that.
we don't want to be out here like just destroying certain pieces of land.
right,
But unleash the rest of it.
I like that.
Just let it go.
So
And then watch what happens.
coming back to Manuel's comment real quick, he would say month to month, I would say month to month to gauge how adjustments like higher interest rates are working and year to year to determine when to stop raising or start lowering them. And I could agree with that. You'd have to agree on a calendar year as well. Like, so again, are we going January to January? That's probably be your best bet for the year to year. And then the month to month, of course, you just take it by month. But, and then, you just see how the adjustments are going with the interest rates and you see what how it's adjusting to your economy and what it's doing to it. And you take it from there. But,
even if the Fed does,
that's a good world.
even if the Fed does start lowering rates, you're going to see it lowering small increments at a time.
Right.
I mean, they're not going to be like 0.75 or 75 basis points lowered. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's going to be like an eighth lowered, and then maybe another eighth and a quarter or something like that, or a quarter lower. It's not going to be. It's not going to be dropping as fast as it's gone up.
Right.
But from everybody that I'm talking to in my industry, everybody seems to think we're going to rest somewhere around that 5 to 5.5% range.
I'd be okay with that. That's not a horrible.
No, that's 5 to 6% is actually a healthy place for our economy.
right.
So
That's a hot take. I like that. Hold on. So Manuel comes in and says restrictions to energy have relaxed a lot. The problem is that the market doesn't trust that demand will stay up over the long term. There ain't no way it doesn't stay up. I mean, we're just doing nothing but overpopulating our country. I think it's going to keep going up. But here's the other cool part that he said. They'll be competing with other energy eventually, like the OPEC cartel.
I love it.
I like that take.
I love it.
I
want to compete with
profit
them.
there. Hard to say, in my opinion. So yeah, the profit also.
I do truly think that America has the means to just smash these other countries in oil production and nuclear energy production and solar production.
Right.
I think we have the capability to literally wipe everybody else off the map and when it comes to the energy race and make the entire world dependent upon us.
That'd be
I think
interesting.
that we have that capability.
I mean, so what? I guess the question is, what does America lead in terms of like exports? What do we lead in like what we have for the world that is value
Politicians.
to them? No.
I mean, we export them all the time. Oh, you didn't say exploit. You said export.
Yeah, my bad.
I thought you were talking about the leaders of exploitation. Politicians.
You're crazy. No, but like,
Only on days that
truly,
it
what does America export more than any other country? I think I saw something about like iron. I don't know if maybe we export more iron or aluminum or some of that nature than any other country. Aluminum. But like, what are we the dominant leader in? To be able to make that happen. So, interesting take there. Oh, I'm going to scoot up here.
While he's doing that, please make sure you like, comment, follow the Fact Is podcast on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. Although we're probably not going to be on YouTube for much longer. Let's be real. But just if you like our content, if you like what we say, if you enjoy our show, show us some love. We're on episode 99 here. Like it's been so much fun. I know I'm talking for Nathan Stewart here, but this is so much fun. We love doing it. We love bringing you guys information and giving you our opinions on things. So interact with us. Keep liking our stuff. Keep commenting. Thank you so much for tuning in.
And yeah, to TikTok, those that are live, if you are commenting, we apologize as we are not able to keep up with those comments as well. We are working on trying to get a live stream on the actual stream itself. So we'll see if we can make that happen. But bringing it back, we do have one more article we're going to touch up as soon as we talk about Manny here one more time with his comment. But yeah, Biden says economy is strong compared to like other countries. We can agree on that. And as we see inflation come down, we're not necessarily going to disagree with it. But again, we need to gauge this more on a month-to-month basis than we are like a yearly basis. So interesting take there.
Yeah, but also at the same time, like if we're looking at other countries and we're comparing ourselves to other countries,
Right.
like what other countries are we comparing ourselves to? Because if we're comparing ourselves to, like, are we comparing ourselves to the European Union? Are we comparing ourselves to like Great Britain?
Right.
Are we comparing ourselves to like the entirety of these other places? Because there's really only one country that's on the same level as us, and that's China.
China, yeah.
Everybody else is like Texas,
Yeah.
California. Actually, California has the 4th largest economy in the world.
Right.
So like what are we talking about
Yeah, that's
here?
an interesting way to put it. Like, where do we?
If we're comparing ourselves to Germany, hell
we
yeah, we're
compare
blowing them out of the
ourselves
water
to-
because
yeah.
they have about the same GDP as Texas.
Well, I'm sure they compare us to all sorts of different statistics and terms and that nature. But just as Biden was addressing that answer, probably just like overall. I mean, where does their mind go when they answer these questions? I don't know. That'd be again a good long form discussion to have. But Manuel comes in and says you also have to consider that the transition to renewables is happening, which he is right. It is happening. We won't No. We won't own those in terms of energy production. We might be able to increase production of things like solar panels. I'm not sure, to be honest, and I'm not sure either. Right? Like, can we increase the efficiency of what we're using for alternative energy? Are we gonna again? And how are we gonna? We continue to hit it pretty hard, but we just we need to become like the ultimate leader.
The
of
ultimate
something.
of ultimates.
Yeah,
Like
OPEC with their oil. I mean, all those Middle Eastern countries, they control so much oil across the
their
world.
oil.
I mean, I agree, but
No, man, like let's just get to a point where we can look at them when they're like, "Oh, we're gonna stop the production." We're like,
okay, have fun. Bye bye. Manuel does say both. I think he was talking in terms of comparing like the year to year to month with the inflation rates, and then the Chinese yuan is worth. Let's say 0.14 to the dollar. Is that what that says?
Chinese yuan,
Yuan.
14 cents to the dollar.
Is that holy crap?
I love it.
That's awesome.
Nate, this is what we actually need to do. We need to move to somewhere like Costa Rica
Yeah.
and then just figure out a way. I mean, we're already doing it. Let's just earn our money online
Right.
and still earn American dollars and just
then
live in
take it to
Costa
a different
Rica
country, yeah.
where it's like 430 to $1.
Oh, easily. And
and then just live like kings.
honestly, I mean, if we could find ourselves, being able to do this podcast wherever we wanted, that could be a potential because then we can take
I
that.
can't leave with my kids.
You could, but
I mean, I could, but
give
that's
them a beautiful life outside of the U.S. I mean, then,
I can give them a beautiful life here in the
Yeah,
U.S.
that's a good point.
Inside the U.S.
That's a good point, too.
But I mean, we could literally be Pablo Escobar. I mean,
We're not endorsing Pablo
No,
Escobar.
not at all, not at all, not at all, not at all. That was just a bad joke.
That was awesome. All right, so let's come full circle.
Noriega.
Let's get to this very last one, which is kind of a disturbing article because it just makes you think about, and it scares me. Like, I would love to have kids. Like you just said, you have your like. I would love to have kids one day. Wait.
One of these days.
Fun fact: Costa Rica has no army. I didn't know that. Manuel just said that. Go to Puerto Rico then, because they're still like a U.S. territory and they're under the
they're still on the
jurisdiction of
dollar.
the U.S., but they don't have federal taxes. I don't believe. They still are on the dollar. But I don't think they have
Technically,
federal
though,
taxes.
there's nothing in the U.S. tax code that says that if you're on a W-2 wage, but if you're not, if you're on a 1099, there's nothing that says that you have to file a federal tax income. Like, there's no rule, there's no law in place that says that.
If I was an independent contractor, I wouldn't be paying no federal taxes.
Oh, that's not saying you won't get audited and the IRS won't come after you, but there's no law in place that says that. It says if you, what did the law actually say? And I don't want to butcher this because I don't want to put like misinformation out there, but I'm pretty sure that the law said unless you're declaring from a foreign source of income,
Right.
which there's something in the language of a W-2 that does make it so you do have to file a federal income tax.
Right.
But if you're like a 1099 or a business owner, I'm 99% sure that there is no law in place that says you have to file a federal income tax.
That's really interesting.
And if you live in an awesome state like, I don't know, Florida, you don't have to file a state income tax either.
Wow. But I mean, you're still going to get held to it, of course. But
No.
No?
State income tax is not a thing in Florida.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is
Neither is it
there,
in Texas.
Sales tax higher or something?
I don't know.
Property tax?
Potentially. I mean, because then you look at like places like Delaware where they don't have sales tax, so the 99-cent drink is actually 99 cents.
Well, the other thing is this, guys. If you're out here looking to
They get it
start a
somewhere else.
business, then make sure that you file your LLC in a state that doesn't have state income tax.
Good point.
Save yourself some money.
Save yourself some money.
I'm interested in the Costa Rica Army thing.
That is kind of interesting, isn't it? They don't have an
Yeah.
army. I kind of like that fun fact. I would like to look into it a little bit more. But
I wonder if they're a peaceful country.
well, I mean,
I would say so. I don't
yeah.
think
I
anybody
mean, you
really
look at like
knows
places
about
like
this.
Switzerland.
They're
they don't
protected
have,
by cartels.
Or no, Switzerland does have an army. They choose to.
Are you sure Switzerland has an army? I don't think they do.
thought they did.
Well,
I thought they
it's just
I know
crazy.
they have a
Some of
pretty
these-
awesome knife.
Yeah, they do. Swiss army and chocolate.
Get it? Swiss Army knife.
It's crazy that just some of these countries are just never in any wars or
Kind of
battles
conflicts.
they
Focus
just
on their people. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
It's like the Netherlands. You never hear of the Netherlands.
No, you never hear anything about them.
But they were like some of the most violent people in.
Oh, I know.
there's like only 5 countries you hear about across the world.
That's because the rest of the fighting is amongst themselves, and we don't give a shit about that. Like, oh, you're gonna fight your own people? Psh, have at it, bro.
So, last article. I kind of like how the Hill changed up their thing up top. They changed in America, shared destiny, shared responsibility. That's kind of cool. But anxiety screening recommended for kids 8 and up. So, new recommendation from the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force states that all youth age 8 to 18 are at risk for anxiety and should be screened. Interesting. I mean, I still blame the technology we're shoving in their face.
I blame the parents.
That too. Well, yeah, so the parents of the technology. So, story at a glance, the mental health among children and adolescents is in a crisis. Last month, the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force recommended for the first time all adults under the age of 65 get screened for anxiety. This month, the agency recommends all youth ages
You think Biden's been screened for anxiety?
8 to 18 screened for anxiety. I
You
think.
think he's been screened for incompetence?
Yeah, I have no idea. I didn't. Okay, so yeah, all citizens are required to serve in the
Male
Swiss
citizens.
Army. Male citizens, yeah. Interesting.
That's
I kind of like that. It sets a line of discipline and physical health in your life, and
It's also sexist as hell, but nobody's going to talk about that.
Woo!
I disagree with you, Nate.
Huh?
I disagree with you.
You don't think people should be forced to do that?
No.
I think everybody. I think it would be a good thing for have 2 years, like a 2
I
year.
agree that it's not. You shouldn't force it. I mean, I can kind of agree with you there, but I do think it's interesting they have people do that because I think it creates a different kind of character for your
I have to
country,
agree with
for
Nick
your
on that.
country, your education. It starts again from discipline and.
You got to think about how many people out here
ability to
just
listen
do
to
not have.
Considering they have
discipline.
good leadership there.
Now we're talking. Good leadership creates good things, but
Yeah, but here's the. Okay, so the yin and the yang to that. If everybody's
we were gonna go on a 3-hour podcast.
Let's do it.
3-hour tour.
Anyways.
Hey, so here's the thing, though, Stuart. If everybody goes through that, right, the entire population, it doesn't matter whose kid you are. It doesn't matter if you're LeBron James's kid or if you're Joe Biden's kid or if you're my kid. If everybody goes through this 2-year or 3-year military stretch,
It might
right?
not be like a 4-year contract.
Yeah,
like the
it's like a
US,
2 or 3 year stretch, right? That's going to automatically produce a higher quality leader.
Yep.
No matter where they come from, because they're going to have that discipline in their life. They're going to have that experience in their
They
life.
listen to authority.
That's the one thing I do like about Great Britain. Even, what was it, Prince Harry, Prince Charles, all those guys served in the military.
Yeah. And let's talk about it. Switzerland, like, what conflicts do they get involved in? When's the last time their army's ever deployed? When's the last time they've ever actually gotten into a fight? No. They just, maybe they're using it as a training program for their young adults to turn them into men who are disciplined.
Stop. You're starting to sound like Tate.
I'm just saying. It's not.
I think they should,
They have bullets.
they should still have a choice, though.
I do see that, and that's interesting, because they should have a choice. But if you had good leaders and you were producing, like, if statistically you were producing a better economy,
What if your choice was to either go through the
Look what
military
Manuel
or
says.
leave? What if that was your choice, Stuart?
Ooh, and then, this is interesting. So there are arguments that it's detrimental to the quality of the military. I will agree with that, because in the quality, people who probably don't want to be there probably aren't putting forth the same kind of effort as, like, we're here in America. We're like, I am going to the military. I'm going to go all out. But then again, it depends on the argument of whether or not they actually truly enjoy their country. Isn't Switzerland one of, like, the top places that you're happy in the world?
I'm gonna have to combat that one, Manny, because what is more detrimental to the quality of the military? People, all males, being forced to go into the military and serve their time and go through that program, or allowing this weakening of the military's identity, like what's going on in America right now.
Right.
So, and I'm not going to call anything out because I don't want to get us flagged for all this other stuff and then be labeled a sexist and everything else. But
what you're talking about.
yes, like when it comes to combat, it's one of the few things on planet Earth that I say it doesn't matter what your beliefs are. When it comes fist to cuff, a man is going to beat a woman 9.9 times out of 10. So if we're going to war and we've got women on the front lines, is that more detrimental to the military than, say, a couple of dudes that don't want to be there?
Good question, right? And because
And I don't mean that in a sexist way.
I'm
I'm just looking
from
at
a
it.
biological standpoint. Men do produce more muscle. Men have,
Especially in a program like the military.
Yeah. Now, granted, is that to say that there
There are some BA women out there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that at all. Like, there's a handful of women out there that
Let's talk
are
about the
terrifying,
Let's talk
but the
about
majority.
I hear what you're saying, and there's nothing wrong with men. There should be nothing wrong with masculinity and wanting to be a strong man. There should be nothing wrong with that. I will agree with you 100%. But I do, women. I do think that women are better leaders. Women qualify as better leaders. They pay attention more to detail. They're better multitaskers. There's things that women can do better than men. I mean, so everybody runs their role in life. I mean, think about it. Men would go to war.
Women are way more organized, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Way more organized.
Men would go to war, literally, over their woman and slaughter an entire nation if you touched their queen or did anything to the, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy to think about how in history, a lot of the times, and then you look at chess, who has the majority of the power on the board? The queen does. But what do? They protect the king. Interesting, right? Interesting thoughts. Interesting.
Well, I mean, what was it? The whole war of Troy was fought over Helen of Troy.
Yeah.
Like, thousands of people died because Helen wanted to hanky-panky with the other prince, or somebody she wasn't supposed to be. I don't remember the exact story. But that entire war, little take coming out there. But that entire war was fought over a lady. I could probably point to a couple of other wars that have been entirely fought over a woman.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
But I mean, I would like to think that we were more barbaric back then, but nowadays, we just take the easy route and produce viruses in a lab that can kill 80% of the population.
Yeah, you're at least 80% of the damn mice. So consider the Vietnam War. While brave and should be commended, we should consider how the draft, comparable to required participation, affected our society broadly and our military. That's a good point. I mean,
Yeah, but that was being drafted for a war that nobody believed in.
Yeah, nobody.
If it's just an obligation, like you get out of high school, you serve 2 years in the military, that is just your thing. That's just how your country is ran.
Right.
Whether it's peacetime or wartime.
Post 9/11, we had more people willing to go into the military, wanting to go fight across seas because of the attacks that happened here on our nation. So I can actually see what he's saying and why it could be detrimental to your military. But again, it depends on what kind of conflicts you get involved.
Yeah, it depends on the
Switzerland never
conflict.
gets involved in a freaking conflict.
I think it completely depends on the conflict, because here's the flip side to that, though, Manuel. If your society is already prepared, if they've already been through the program, if they already have those disciplines, if they already know what they're getting themselves into when a war does come and a draft does come, that's going to increase the quality of military production, rather than taking some hippie off the street who's like, F this war, I don't want anything to do with it. Oh, now you got to go. And then they get there and they're like, I don't want to do this. And it's like, if they've already been through the training regimen, so now it's just snapping back into place. It's like you took the training wheels off, basically. Right. Now they can ride the bike. Now they don't have to ride the bike after that unless stuff really does hit the fan.
Right.
But the bike's there. They have the vehicle. I think it increases the quality of the military. That's my take.
I think it would at least increase the quality of your civilian population by far. So, just interesting thoughts, interesting takes. But,
love it.
Let's bring it back to anxiety in children. Mental health among the youth, adolescents, yada yada.
Maybe we should stop creating viruses in labs. That would probably ease everybody's anxiety.
Yeah, no joke. The agency published a recommendation this week for youth and adolescents, stating that this applies to children and adolescents 18 years and younger who do not have a diagnosed anxiety disorder and who are not showing recognized signs or symptoms of anxiety. So they provide further context for clinicians. Although all youth age 8 to 18 years are at risk for anxiety and should be screened, there are factors that increase the risk. Risk factors for anxiety disorders including genetic, personality, and environmental factors such as attachment difficulties, conflict between parents, parental overprotection, early parental separation, and child mistreatment. Certain groups are also at increased risk, including LGBTQ youth, transgender youth, and other older adolescents aged 12 to 17 years old, which I would still argue that those youth should not be allowed to consider themselves any of those things until they're of age and are able to even think logically and being able to make those decisions. But that's just my opinion on that.
Oh, you're going to get us in trouble for that one.
But
I agree.
I'm just saying, I think it would be better for our teenagers to not let them make those kind of decisions when they can't even raise their... They have to ask to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
You know?
My other question is this. What is the purpose of this? What is the purpose of testing for this anxiety? Is it to medicate these kids?
That's another interesting
Did
question.
Pfizer sponsor this? Because, like, I get it. Anxiety is a problem. I completely understand
I mean,
that.
we all haven't. I, you know...
If we're going to implement an anxiety test on 8 to 18-year-olds to make sure that they're okay, then we need to implement a competency test on 60 and up to be able to be a part of Congress or jobs in general.
Yeah.
And now, that's a hot take because now you're limiting these people to be able to work.
You're discriminating against age. You're discriminating against...
What is the difference here? 8 and up?
Nothing. Not a single difference.
How do
And
you
then-
screen for anxiety?
I don't know.
You sit in a quiet room and somebody jumps up.
You get scared, you're anxious.
I mean, they like put stuff on your brain and
They probably do.
I don't know if
They hook it up.
Yeah, they like read your diagnostics as to, you know, when they ask you certain questions or if they, you know, start digging. I don't know.
You know what's
I don't
gonna be
know.
dope,
Or
though,
they
here?
just send you to a counselor on a third party decision.
Here in like 10 to 15 years, Elon Musk is going to like perfect this Neuralink thing. Anxiety is going to go away. Like, you're going to be able to hit a button and
You're
get a
gonna be an
dopamine
emotionless
drop.
robot.
Like, yeah, emotionless robot. We'll be synced up to the AI by then.
I don't want
Like,
it.
beam
I
me
refuse
up,
it.
Scotty.
I
Beam me
refuse
up.
it.
Put me in the body of a car that transforms into a robot, and I'm down. Like, let's go. Beam me up, Scotty.
Transformers,
Robots in disguise. I will name myself Optimist Prime. Not Optimus.
Optimist.
Optimist, because I'm so optimistic.
Positive.
Actually, that's my wife's nickname for me. She's like, "You're Optimist Prime."
Love that.
I'm like, well, I am a pretty optimistic guy.
But yeah, so that's where we're sitting with the state of this world as well, or state of the U.S. at least. They're telling you to screen your children. So, you know, my opinion, I think you should just keep them off. I think you should pay attention to them. I think you
Screen
need to keep them
time?
away from screen time, and I think you
Spend
need to
more
monitor
time with
your
your children?
Yeah, spend time with your children. I mean, you know, we can argue
Work-life
that.
balance.
I mean, everybody at our age group, you know, we went through some stuff because I would argue that the boomer population kind of destroyed this world, or this, you know, the boomer population is what destroyed this country, in my opinion. Just a thought. Another hot take, but
Ooh,
um,
that one is a hot take. I
that,
like
yeah,
it.
that it is another hot take, but. Man, welcome to
I
this
agree.
solid pass on being a part robot. I love that.
Man, well, you can't tell me it would not be awesome to just transform into whatever car you wanted to.
I mean, you know,
Like, and today I'm gonna be a Lamborghini. Tomorrow, let's go McLaren.
but hot take, boomers destroyed. I mean, you know, the next generations to come. We, you know, our families, our situations. We dealt with probably more alcoholism, more drug abuse, more closeted conversations. More, you know, we came between the era of technology just blowing up and tradition and family and what that truly means, right? So I would say our generation had to deal with probably the worst of the worst and learning on how to not pass certain things on to other children.
Societally, yes, I would
Yeah.
say like
On the mental health,
the
yeah.
health side of things. Yeah, ours.
I would know.
But I would also argue Vietnam was way worse than what we've got going on right now.
right. But I would
Oh.
also say that today, with children and their phones and what parents are allowing, but again, it's
the
what
mental
parents are
game
allowing.
nowadays is crazy.
It's just gone.
But today, mental health is a lot more mainstream. Where even like 20 years ago,
They didn't talk about
nobody
mental
talked about
health.
mental health.
Yeah, and I can agree.
Shut
with
up,
that.
Rick. Drink another drink.
Yeah, right. And where stop with your emotions? Shove it up
I'm gonna
here.
take this belt off and whoop your ass.
But no, I mean that's a good point too, right? Because you want to talk about how I'm losing my train of thought. Damn it. We've been going on so long. I'm losing my train of thought. You were saying mental health wasn't even talked about. Mental health was not talked about, and it wasn't discussed. And, you know, we've learned, I would say, we still don't talk about our mental health, our generation.
men,
and
because
men.
nobody will listen.
Nobody will listen. Getting into that Tate territory
If
again.
I come up to you, Nafe, and I said, Nafe, I'm just having a bad day, you're going to be like, suck it up, Buttercup.
Well, me, I would actually listen to you. But
yeah,
I
you
hear what
probably
you're
would.
saying.
You have a big heart. But
I hear what you're saying.
like, I could go to anybody else and be like, just having a really tough day. I just need somebody to talk to, and they're gonna be like, "Fuck off." I got my own problems, bro.
What are you talking about? Good luck. No, but I mean that's to that point pretty interesting. But you know, and children nowadays, again, with technology that we can barely handle, you know what that's doing. It literally taps into your mental health. It taps into your dopamine. It taps into your body. I mean, this is so detrimental in my opinion, and we need to learn how to control that. But Manny comes in and says, I think Gen X probably had a rough time coming after boomers, and we were raised by Gen X plus. Like Stuart said, mental health is a bigger issue for our generation, even more so for Gen Z. Gen Z especially.
Gen Z is weird.
They're the ones who are getting, again, destroyed by technology that can literally control your
dude.
levels of dopamine, that
It's
will
insane.
tap into your entire...
It's insane what Gen Z is going through.
Yeah.
Like, Gen Z is a weird generation.
I feel bad for them.
To think one day that they're going to be running the world.
I think there's time for change still, but again, we'd have to start that process now. Yeah,
That's a lot of change that's going to happen.
a lot of change, and it's on our shoulders.
Like, it's coming, and you see it. It's
we-
writings on the wall. They're
we
going to
have
eventually
to
take
be the
over.
ones to change.
I would say the generation that ruined the world the most is the generation that took us off the gold standard. I don't know which generation that was.
What is
It
the
might have
gold
been
standard?
boomers.
So whenever the Federal Reserve was created,
No, that was in 1913. That was a completely different thing. The gold standard was what that used to be that every single dollar bill was backed up by gold.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, like your gold coins.
Now,
silver, your,
every single dollar that you have is owed to somebody else. Debt is what gives it value.
that is literally what gives it value. It's,
So
yeah,
that's why it's everybody's like, oh, the U.S. is in such debt. And it's like, well, that's what gives our money value. Why wouldn't we be
is
in
it not
debt?
called like fractional banking?
Fractional banking.
Yeah.
And if you haven't looked into fractional banking,
You
ladies and
need to.
gentlemen, here's a rabbit hole for you.
Go on the Tin Hat and take a while.
what did they do before credit cards and all these big loans and stuff?
You paid for shit.
Cash, just straight cash.
Yeah, you paid for things.
And then before that was, you know, the gold standard before cash came along. Currency, like I look at
No,
online
I mean, currency
wasn't it?
has always been. Currency has always been there. Currency is just what is it's a physical handing of goods and services.
Well, not anymore.
That's what I'm saying. It used to be.
It used to be,
So
right,
that's what
right.
currency has always been. Like coins and stuff like that. They've all had value.
Yeah, like gold coins, silver coins.
So gold and silver, those things are. What's the name of the? They're-
Intangible objects. I don't
Yeah.
know.
No. It's like what's the mark? A subset. No, I blank. Anyway, they're tangible. You know, you can hold them, you can feel them. They actually have value. Now this, all of a sudden, currency was invented after that because it was getting too expensive. If people couldn't come up by gold, then it went to silver, then it went to nickel, then it went to, you know, it just kept getting lower in value, and those things. So then they started printing paper documents to represent that gold or that
Right.
silver or whatever it was, and commodity. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So then that's how the paper dollar became. So it used to be that the paper dollar was backed up by something of value. In 1973, the U.S. was taken off the gold standard and then put on the petrodollar, which is what we run on currently. The petrodollar is that all oil in the world will be traded in the U.S. dollar. So that's why our currency is so strong.
Interesting.
But it also allowed for massive amounts of debt to be had.
Right, and well, so Manuel says we got off the gold standard so that we can more adequately control expansions and retractions of the economy. Worth it if you ask me, but for context, this inability contributed to the Great Depression and our lack of response to it. Right, so I mean, there's give and take. I mean, it also, you know, considering like the ability to borrow, you know, this this cash, I guess, to say, is what has also created like generational wealth for some people, and what has allowed some people to get
Oh, yeah.
ahead. What
I'm not
creates
saying
that like
I'm not saying
American
it's all
dream.
bad.
No,
I'm not
right,
saying it's all
but-
bad. I'm just saying that our money should have value.
it should be backed by some sort of value.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because all it's backed up is by that Federal Reserve, because it's a federal note, which is again.
So what happens
literally
if
created
the
by
Federal
that.
Reserves? What happens if something
just
happens to the Federal
gone.
Reserve?
Yeah.
Or if we decide we want to abolish
And
the
we
Federal
literally
Reserve?
have no. I mean,
No money supply.
Yeah, we have no money supply. We have no basic economic standing or currency. We have no like currency at that point.
It's so sad that a bank has literally ingrained itself so much into the United States that we cannot get rid of it. It's a
Yeah.
cancer that is there that helps us in certain ways but kills us in others.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It's like oxygen. Is oxygen killing us or is it keeping us alive? Think about that for a second, because oxygen is what makes your cells reproduce, and when your cells reproduce, they die.
Philosophy conversation.
101, baby.
We are an hour.
We're an hour and a half here, boys.
An hour and a half here.
Shit, we got another hour and a half. Let's go.
I could sit here and talk about this all day. It's just.
Did
like
you
a
know that
passion.
the
I love it.
Andromeda Galaxy and the Milky Way Galaxy are going to collide one day?
100 billion years from now. I don't know how long it'll take.
Actually, I think it's longer than that. No, it's not. It's like 4.3 billion or something.
Didn't you say the social dilemma says 20 years or something?
So, real quick, Manuel says it's just like anything, pros and cons to everything. That's just life. And then, yeah, I mean, I agree. Like life, there's pros and cons to everything, right? And so, yeah, the social dilemma. If y'all haven't seen that on Netflix, which
Check
I'm
it out.
sure basically everybody has, but.
Oh, and if you want to look into fractional banking, check out this movie. It's called
Fractional reserve banking, I think is what it's called, right?
Fractional banking.
Something like that.
It's fractional.
But Zeitgeist is what you're...
Zeitgeist.
Yeah,
If
buddy.
you've not seen that movie, Zeitgeist. Also, after you get through the fractional banking portion of it, it gets a little screwy with like 9/11, and then
Yeah.
also it gets a little screwy with religion. So if you don't want to hear about those things, turn it off.
Yeah, after that, but...
Because it will definitely take your
you into
brain,
a hole.
stir it up a little bit, and then say, "Welcome to the role."
It's crazy.
That's what got me started on my 10 hat, and then I found Alex Jones at a very young age. I was like 12.
Alex Jones makes sense.
Saw Zeitgeist, and then I'm like, "Oh my god, life isn't real." And then literally, like the next day, I see this guy, Alex Jones, like, "The government's out here trying to kill us all. The global elitists." I'm like, "Oh god, it's happening."
Aliens.
The folks.
It's crazy. Life is, we could sit here and go on hours and hours of conversations. I mean, we were just talking about this again before we started, and you could just continue to go on for hours.
Love it.
But anyway,
That's why we do what we do.
Yeah, we love doing what we do. This is a passion of ours, of course, because why else would we be sitting here for an hour and a half talking to everybody and enjoying our time? But with that being said, that's how I initially got into politics. Super weird shit.
I love it.
I love it too. That's awesome. I mean,
See,
yeah,
man?
seriously, like that's why
We're
I
cut from
started
the same
getting into
cloth.
politics. Because I was never big into politics, dude. I never paid attention. I was the kid in school who didn't know a damn thing about it, and then I started learning, and I was just like, wow, this is a
weird
lot
shit.
deeper, yeah.
This
But
shit
anyways,
is weird.
Let's get out of this 99th episode. No episode next week.
Nope, taking a break.
Yeah, we will take a break. We're going to take a hiatus. We're going to come up with something big for the 100th episode, so be on the lookout there. And we are going to make a post a couple weeks in advance, or at least a week in advance. That way you all know what we're going to be doing with that, and you know what's going to happen with that. So you all, thank you for coming by again tonight. Manny, thank you especially. We really appreciate the discourse and you know the challenge and the push and the conversation. You know, we can't thank you enough for that. But you know, this was the 99th episode, and we are right there at 100. So best thing you all can do, whether it's TikTok, Facebook, anywhere else, follow, like, share, get us out there, get us anywhere and everywhere. Apparently on TikTok now we can start getting subscribers. If you all would be so kind, if you would be interested in that, but we're not even asking for that. What we want is to be shared. That's the biggest thing we need. Throw our names out there. Make sure you're spreading us, and make sure you're bringing us up with not only your family and your friends and those you like to talk up to politics about, but those you disagree with and that don't like it. We're the ones who are trying to engage everybody and make sure everybody has a voice and that they're heard and that they're able to, you know, contribute to society properly. So,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. So with that being said, thank you all so much for joining us today. What was that? I was trying to figure out if you were playing. Was it a commercial? It was an ad. What's the real thing you're about to play? Oh, are you playing? So beautiful. So, with those who have joined us tonight, thank you. Thank you to anybody who's liked, shared. Thank you for those who contributed and commented. We are here for you. We are here to provide the information that we spread to everybody and allow for you all to have your own open, honest discourse. Because here in America, we believe that we have more in common than we don't, and we will share beautiful ideals, and we will come to conclusions through open, honest discourse and being able to come together as humans and figure out what we can do to make a life better for everybody, not only in the U.S. but across the world. With that being said, that was beautiful, Ryan. Thank you.
You know what?
I knew there was an ad at first. I was like, wait, what is he trying to play this?
No, it wasn't the ad. It was the I had the podcast up and I forgot to silence it, so I was like talking over itself. So
that makes sense.
It is what it is.
But that was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for closing us out there, Nave. Stuart, love you being on a mic, bro.
I do like it. I like the discussion now.
Yeah. And we just added a whole new dynamic. We got to get a camera on this, man.
We will.
And then
idea.
also, Manny, seriously, thank you so much for all your support and just discourse. I love it. I love what you bring to the table when you get on here and, comment and do what you do. So thank you so much. And then I guess we're just going to dip set.
Yeah, I guess we're out.
See y'all later.
So, thanks for episode 99. We'll see you all in 2 weeks. Thanks so much.